In this final tutorial video, I want to talk about two assignments. First of all, I want to talk about the reconstruction mixer assignment because that's the first real activity you're going to do, which will take you some time, and it's due this Friday, May 28th. But also I want to talk about the final project and how that works. Basically, the scheduling of instructions on what you're supposed to do and when you're supposed to do it. So to get to the reconstruction mixer, you go up to Content, and you click on Content, and then you go down to Unit 1, and then you click on Reconstruction Mixer. One of the most important things to keep in mind about these assignments is that I ask very specific questions in them, and you have to answer all of them. Now, you do that, of course, within the frame of the length required for the assignment. So, for example, in this assignment, you're going to post 2 discussion posts where you play the role of an individual who's attending this reconstruction mixer, and the other is a post where you step out of that role and you act like an historian, but you're talking about the character you played. You're talking about the real person whose part you played. And that's the second post. So I'm not going to read through this because you can do that yourself. But at first I sketch the setting. I say, this is what you're supposed to pretend you're doing. You are at the home of a wealthy philanthropist in 1872. You have been assigned a role. We'll take a look at that in a minute. And you're supposed to explain how you're going to pitch a message that is supposed to convince the people at the party that they should support your cause. Now, what is your cause? Well, you will be informed of that with the materials in this assignment. Just wait and see, and you'll see how it all comes together. So it says, first, find your person. And if you click here, you can find who you've been assigned. So let's click there. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of names here. But there's a list of names of real people who lived in the 19th century and who were associated with various reform causes, not all the same. And there's about the same number of people here as the number of students in our class. And you will find your name in this list. You've been assigned to one of these people. So that is the person whose role you will play. Now, what do you know about them? Well, right now you just know this, which is very little. In fact, these acronyms are spelled out down here, so you can find out what these acronyms are. But let's suppose you were assigned the role of Frederick Douglass. Well, you would go down, scroll down until you find the section on Frederick Douglass. There it is. Now here, Douglass talks about himself. This is not exactly the words of Douglass, but somebody wrote this because they wanted to play the role of Douglass and sort of sum up what he did in his life and what he was for. But when we get to these primary sources, you have the actual words of Douglass as they were really either spoken or written. A primary source is an historical document from the time in which we are studying. Unlike a textbook, which is written by people alive today, a textbook is a secondary source, but a primary source is a source from the people we are actually studying, at the time we're actually studying. But this is an excerpt from this document, and this is the excerpt you must focus on. Now, you could open this up and read it as it was in the form it appeared in 1869, but it's also written here, so you can just read this. This is all the primary source. So, Mr. Isaac Myers reports as follows. And this was not written by Douglass, but it was written by the head of a committee that was very important to Douglass and which he supported heart and soul. He was the president. But also anything that this man says, this man Isaac Myers, is something that Douglass believes in. So that's the primary source that you have for Frederick Douglass. Now let's go back and see what actual questions we have to answer, regardless of who we are playing. So here we're back to the instructions, and we'll go back to where we left off. This talks about the primary source that you need to discuss. We just looked at it in the case of Frederick Douglass. You'll see what persuasive argument strategies or quotes they have used to further their movement. You'll put these to use in your elevator pitch. That's your first post. So Isaac Myers is really speaking for Douglass in that particular example. Now, how do you use primary resources? Well, this tells you how, and this is also something you need to look at before you even attempt to write or even read your primary source. This little video talks about what primary sources are, as does this, and you have a discussion of how to approach a primary source document and an actual example of how we decode it, how we get the most out of it in terms of understanding the history that lies behind it. So you'll want to read this very carefully. So let's go back to the instructions. And when we do that, we can continue. And it says, remember, your source may not be directly about your person, but it will be related to their cause. You notice that that example I gave you with Frederick Douglass was not written by Frederick Douglass, but it was related to his cause. So whatever it says there is something that Douglass believes in. So write 2 to 3 paragraphs introducing yourself as your character and your cause at the mixer. And this tells you what you should say in your introduction and how you should frame your elevator pitch, as this calls it. Briefly tell them why they should support your cause and give you money or help. But here are the direct questions that you answer in that 2 to 3 paragraph post. And this is where I say, don't ignore these. Address each and every one of them if you want to do the best job you can on the post and get the highest grade you possibly can. And then you reply and learn about other characters. You reply to at least 2 other posts. But this is where you break out of character. You act like an historian in these replies. You talk about the character that you're responding to, or you talk about your own character that you played before, not from the standpoint of the character you played, but from the standpoint of history. What was strong about this person and what was weak about this person in terms of a strategy that would effectively achieve their goals? That's what an historian does. So you definitely don't want to say, wow, you did a great job, and I never knew. That is not good because you're just trying to use up time and avoid the questions. You definitely don't want to repeat the points you made in your main post because you can't get credit for saying the same things in the replies that you said in the original. But that should be easy because you're not playing the role of a character. You're playing the role of an historian. Now, of course, you get this information that you're going to talk about from your learning in the course, from your reading about Reconstruction. Presumably, these questions were not questions you addressed in your main post, your first post, so whatever you say will be original. But make sure it's true, of course. And it says we encourage you to have fun with it. If you can have fun after all of this complicated instructions, wow, that's fantastic. But to be serious, we do want you to have fun with it. This is an excellent way to put yourself in the shoes of someone from the past and to think critically about their positions, their important positions, and how they may have changed or not changed the course of history by their strategies. And here are the criteria on which you will be graded. Now let me say a very few words about the final assignment and the schedule we will follow to address the final project and to make sure that you keep on track and don't wait till the last minute. So some of this has to do with scheduling during the semester, and some of this has to do with defining the assignment and explaining how it works. So to do that, you go to Content, open up Content, and then you click on How to Succeed in this course under the Start Here title. And there you have the instructions for the final project. And it points out the different modes you can use to present your assignment. You could present it in a straightforward essay of 1,000+ words. You could present a video or an audio narration, a podcast, a playlist, another medium of your choice. Now you're going to decide what mode of presentation you're going to use by Friday when you post your introductions. So there's one time in the semester when you address a part of the final project, but you're not going to yet choose your topic. This is the first step. The first step is to choose your mode of presentation. There is a final project brainstorm discussion that is midpoint in the semester at the end of Unit 4. Then there's the final project topic, working thesis, and format check-in assignment that's due at the end of Unit 6. And you can see this listed in the calendar. And if you click on each of these links, you find out what you're supposed to do. So again, the final project brainstorm discussion you discuss with your fellow students at the end of Unit 4. The date is on the calendar. And then this step, the final project topic, working thesis, and format, you do at the end of Unit 6 on the date listed on the calendar. And so let me just show you where you can find these items. This is a discussion, and this final project topic, working thesis, and format is an assignment. So that tells you that if you go up to communications and then go down to discussions, you can find the discussion for the brainstorm activity, and it's in this list, and it's right here, and it tells you what you need to do and by when you need to do it, June 26, 2021. If we go back up to assessments and then go to assignments, you see that the final project topic, working thesis, and format is right here, and it's due on July 7th. So that's where you can find information about that. Finally, you may notice that we do not have a midterm and a final exam. We have no midterm exam, and instead of a final exam, we have this final project. So the final project is due during the period we would have a final exam if we had a final exam, and that's from July 17th to July 21st. So you have that period of time to turn in your final project, following the instructions for the assignment that you see in this course. Thanks for watching these 3 tutorials. I hope they've helped you understand the course, and I'm looking forward to teaching it and helping you learn American history. I think we'll have fun.